What's going on YouTube? JT's Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about Batman Urban Legends number 4. So, I'm really loving Batman Urban Legends. I've been saying it for the past couple issues. I think the Red Hood storyline in particular is the best Jason Todd story we've had in years. That to me is what's keeping me going. There's been some decent backup stuff. I'm kind of invested in what's going on with the whole Grifter thing. The Black Lightning one was okay. The Harley Quinn one and Poison Ivy thing, that was just kind of all right. And it kind of feels like we get one little, like, the Lady Shiva one from, what was it, like, an issue or two ago was just kind of out there and just didn't know really what to make of it. But Batman Urban Legends is giving us some pretty good stories going on here with the whole anthology angle. So let's go ahead and talk about these. There's several of them. We also get the return of Tim Drake, and there's a lot of talk going on about the Tim Drake one in particular, and we'll get to that in a second. There's some interesting things. There's some things I definitely have a major gripe with going on in that one, and we'll get to that when we talk about it. So we have Red Hood and Batman in Cheer, Part 4 of 6 by Chip Zdarsky. That one is fantastic. I can't say that enough. We have Batwing and Superman Punch, written by Cameron Johnson, who I believe plays Batwing on the Batwoman TV show on the CW. Which, too, that's actually kind of cool. Think about it. You're playing this iconic comic book character, and you actually get to write a little comic for them. That I'm trying to think if anybody else has been able to do that. I can't think of off the top of my head, but I think that's kind of cool that he was able to write his own little Batwing storyline. Then we have Tim Drake in Some of Our Parts by Meghan Fitzmartin. And then we have Grifter in The Long Con, Part 4 of 5. So the Grifter thing's going to come to a close next month, so we'll kind of skim through all these different things and talk about them. So the first one is, of course, the Chip Zdarsky one, and like I said, I'm absolutely loving every single thing about this whole Red Hood Chip Zdarsky Batman Jason Todd story. I think it's incredible. So in this thing, we kind of get like flashbacks. So at the end of the last issue, with the last part, we had Red Hood getting trapped by Mr. Freeze, confronting him about the whole Cheerdrops thing. And what I love about these issues is the flashback sequences do a really great job of tying into the events of the current day sequences. They do a great job mirroring them. And we get a little bit of flashbacks to Death in the Family. We see that Jason Todd was with Batman and he just refused to listen, which ultimately got him killed by the Joker because he wanted to do things on his own. So this issue acts as kind of like both Batman and Jason kind of learning a bit from this thing. There's a bit of a redemption for Batman because he's able to kind of save Jason after being unable to save him in a similar situation. Jason is finally able to learn to ask for help, and we get some great artwork, some great mirroring of events here and there. Is it the strongest part of all? I don't know, like, because this whole storyline has been really gripping. Man, why can't this guy write a whole Red Hood ongoing? I'm absolutely loving Urban Legends just for the Red Hood stuff. The artwork is great. Batman's there, Oracle's there. Just kind of like everything's kind of mirroring each other quite well. The flashback stuff is really great. The way it kind of ends on a neat little cliffhanger. I can't say enough about it. I think you definitely got to check this thing out. Everything just kind of works for me in this thing, and the way it's kind of setting things up. And I think that's the villain Cheer right here. This little guy at the end who's crazed clown Joker looking dude. So Mr. Freeze is working with him too. So it's all adding up to really exciting. We're almost there to the climax of the whole thing. I'm interested to see what happens with little Tyler. I'm interested to see what happens with kind of everything else going on with this thing. So looking forward to it. The next thing is the Superman Punch thing with Batwing. So Luke Fox. This one is probably like, this one's kind of okay. It's cool to see Riddler in there. It's cool to see some little like Riddler solving puzzles and stuff. It's cool to see Luke kind of do his own thing. There's some funny stuff with Killer Croc. Anytime you can make Riddler kind of miserable after solving one of his riddles, it always kind of reminded me of the Batman Arkham video games. And when you're finally able to beat Riddler after he mocks you the whole time, like Riddler to me is supposed to be like depends on the Riddler you're going with. Like Frank Gorshin's really incredible at what he did in the '60s show. Jim Carrey is, a lot of fun, but in the video games and like kind of more modern Riddler, I always like the Riddler to be kind of really like annoying and trying to like piss you off with his riddles, and then ultimately like he fails and he just gets subjected to like some sort of like bit of misery himself. I always found that kind of funny. So we get a bit of that here with Killer Croc kind of chasing him around. He's like, no! So I enjoyed this one. It was fine. Nothing groundbreaking or anything like that. But the next thing is Tim Drake. Yes, Tim Drake has been kind of absent for a while. I mean, he showed up in the Nightwing book, but here we have, like, he's kind of going through a bit of an identity crisis, and there's a lot of, like, undertones going on in this issue of what it seems to be indicating. So we have Tim here. It explains why he's going by Robin this time around. He's just like, Oracle's like, okay, what do I call you? Red Robin? Do I call you this? I'm not calling you Drake because Drake is a terrible name. I'm glad everybody kind of acknowledges how stupid the name Drake was. And Tim's fully like, Robin's fine, Oracle, at least while Damien's out of town. So he's like, look, while he's out of town, just call me Robin. It's fine. And when he's here, we'll get to that battle when we get there. So Tim is out there. He's kind of lost direction in a bit of things. He seems to have like a lot of insecurities going on. So there's been no reason to the different kidnappings. So he's kind of all just trying to figure things out, and you see things going on here. There's a lot of undertones going on there. The worst part about this whole thing is Tim's just like, drop it, Barbara, and stop talking to me about stop talking. I can't even talk right now. Stop talking to my ex about me. So that right there to me is the thing that kind of infuriates me the most. Because you have Tim Drake and Stephanie Brown, who are pretty much like the most like they seem to have the least amount of issues when it comes to like bad family and like relationships of sorts. Like Tim and Stephanie had a pretty solid relationship going on. They have years of character work behind it. They've been together since the start of Rebirth. They were going fine together in Young Justice, the last we saw of them, I guess. And now you mean to tell me that the first time Tim Drake is back, him and Stephanie Brown, two characters who have gone to the ends of the earth for one another, have broken up off-panel. To me, that to me is really just lazy, shitty writing. You can't, like, imagine if you had Superman and Lois Lane together and married, then just like some issue like down the line, oh, they've broken up completely off-panel. You're not even going to show us that. You're not actually going to build towards it. You're not going to like craft a story around it. That to me is a pretty significant deal because think about it. Remember when Tim Drake had died back in like, the beginning of Tiny Ann's whole Detective Comics thing? At the start of DC Rebirth, Stephanie Brown was absolutely heartbroken about the whole affair because like she was ready to go kind of move on with Tim. There was kind of like this sense of, you know what, we're finally going to move on. We're going to kind of go off and be kind of happy together. And it seemed like things were going to start to go in there. And then when Tim finally came back, there was this nice reunion and all that. They seemed to be just, kind of happy together. And you mean to tell me that they broke up and you're not even going to show it? You're not going to build to it all. This to me feels like the writer just doesn't. I can't vouch for the writer. I don't know them personally. I'm not really familiar with any of their work. But it just felt like they wanted to like put Tim in a different situation, I should say, as opposed to just writing him with Stephanie or giving us a good reason as to why they broke up or actually like, lead to it, because that could be a very emotional scene because like you're invested in years with these two characters together and then it's just kind of all thrown away. And so Tim can, I guess, what it seems to me is go out on a date with this guy named Bernard. Yes, you heard it right. Tim Drake is apparently, it seems like he's coming out of the closet in this issue, which a lot of fans have wanted. You can see it on social media. They like him with, was it Connor Kent a lot? Yeah, so that seems to be a thing. That's what I'm interpreting this thing as. I don't know about you, but it seems pretty obvious to me that's what's going on here. In which case, if you're going to do that, at least him and Steph have so much history. You got to build to it. You got to actually lead to it. You can't just be like, oh no, we're going to throw that away. It just feels lazy. It feels kind of cheap. The thing I did like about this section was going into Tim's kind of uncertainty about what's going on because he seems to be kind of directionless a bit, and I don't know what's going to happen with Stephanie Brown because I really like her character, but I mean, and these two have been kind of together for a long time at this point. It just, I don't know, like that to me just that leaves kind of a bad taste in my mouth because if you're going to break them up, at least build to something. Or at least kind of show us like how the downfall came to be. Don't just say they broke up off panel. That just cheapens everything that they've been through. And like also for all the writers who have spent kind of years working on that relationship, it just feels like kind of like us like, oh yeah, well fuck you, I don't want to do this. Like that's kind of what I'm getting from with the writing in this thing. I can't vouch for it, but that's what I'm interpreting from this thing. So anyways, he's going off on I guess his little date with this Bernard person. Somebody comes in. Bernard gets kidnapped. Tim Drake goes into a panic mode, and that's basically how the Tim Drake storyline goes. So yes, in case you've been wondering what happened with Tim Drake, he comes back, and apparently they just broke it off, like off panel, because we can't actually show that. or build to it. So I don't know. I have really mixed feelings on that whole Tim Drake thing. That to me just left kind of a bad taste in my mouth, and I think it leaves a bad taste in the mouths of kind of a lot of people, because whether you liked him with Stephanie Brown or not, they really should have actually shown it like on panel happening instead of just kind of like going a throwaway reference, because that to me just feels like kind of a slap in the face. So you got that going on there, and then lastly we have the Grifter storyline where he's kind of off doing his thing. He's fighting Deathstroke this time around. He like paid Deathstroke a ton of money to beat the shit out of him. He's trying to capture Batman at one point. Turns out like it's Superman, which was kind of a nice little twist where Superman kind of shows up doing his thing. Grifter's off doing his thing. Lucius Fox is almost getting killed or kidnapped. He's almost getting Grifter's off kind of getting teleported around in this thing. Bruce Wayne's kind of doing his thing. This one's kind of a little bit all over the place with a lot of stuff kind of going on in this little backup story, but we are leading to the end of it. And at the end, like there's tying to the events, was it like a Leviathan checkmate or something like that? There's a character known as the Zealot. I'm not familiar with this character. I haven't read Leviathan or Checkmate at all, so I'm not really familiar with who this is. Bruce Wayne's there. Even towards the end of the issue, like we have Bruce and Clark kind of like talking together. He's just like, hey, we should really work together on this thing. And Batman's like, no, I can handle this myself. Go back to Metropolis. This is my problem. Instead of Batman just kind of asking for Superman's help, so Superman kind of goes off and does his own thing. So Batman knows some suspicions going on with Grifter. Kind of all the people going on there know a bit of that, too. There's some funny bits kind of written here. But overall, it's just kind of a decent part in the whole Grifter storyline. I got to go back and kind of reread the whole thing by the time the final part comes out. But I have been overall enjoying the Grifter thing. Like, there's some fun elements to it. And, yeah, so we got that going on here. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can kind of add to this thing. The artwork overall, like all the different storylines, is quite good. There's some cool stuff going on here. The Red Hood thing is better than anything else going on here. It's cool to see Tim Drake back. Not a fan of what they did with him and Stephanie, especially given like their history and all that they've been through, and like what those two's like their developments, like how closely tied their developments were to one another. It just feels really cheap to me just to kind of break them up off panel, and just feels kind of lazy. So that left kind of a bad taste in my mouth that kind of like, lingered throughout the whole section there. The rest of it is just, it's kind of fine. It's cool to like dive into a bit of like what's going on with like Tim Drake and a lot of his insecurities and how he's kind of feeling directionless going on right now. So we'll see how that all turns out. And yeah, the Grifter thing almost to the end there. Batwing thing. The Batwing bit is fine. Not personally like anything that I'm going to remember for like the rest of time, but I thought it worked okay. So yeah, Batman Urban Legends continues to be like a nice ongoing series for DC Comics. I think it's one of their strongest. For me, my favorite DC series going on right now: Robin, Nightwing, and Batman Urban Legends. So they're better than like the main Batman books, like with Batman Detective Comics and there's also Joker. I still haven't gotten around to reading it, but anyways, that's all I got to say about Batman Urban Legends number 4. Did you like this issue? Did you dislike it? Tell me what you thought of it in the comment section down below. Be sure to hit that bell for notifications. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Share this video with your friends. All sorts of fun stuff going on here. Tomorrow I will be back to talking about Detective Comics, and I will also be trying to post the Joker comic book review, because I got to get around to reading those two things. But I want to get the Urban Legends one out today, because there are like a lot of stories going on in this thing, and plus it like gives me a little bit of a breather, kind of spaces things out of it. So, all right, that's all I have to say. Thank you all so much for watching this video. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.